Good afternoon, everyone. I am Grant McGaw, CEO of Five Star BDM, and I am very excited to welcome you to today's insightful roundtable discussion on strategic technology leadership, navigating AI and IoT integration. And we are diving deep into one of the most important conversations for enterprises and small to medium sized businesses right now, and how to effectively leverage AI and IoT to drive business transformation, foster innovation, and create sustainable growth. Today, we are fortunate to have two incredible industry leaders joining us. First, we have Dr. Hendrik Vesey, the founder of HV Technology Group, a seasoned expert in AI, IoT, and digital transformation with over 30 years of experience shaping the future of technology across multiple sectors. And alongside him, we are joined by Ronak Shah, the CEO of Agile Infoways, a visionary in software engineering and digital innovation. Ronak's work spans global enterprises and SMBs, helping organizations unlock the full potential of technology to drive measurable business outcomes. And together, we will explore how to balance innovation with risk management, engage stakeholders, and dive into real world applications that demonstrate the transformative power of AI and IoT. So get ready for an action packed session filled with key insights, strategies, and practical examples. So, right now, let's get started. And before that, I want to make sure that the audience understands that this is interactive. If you do have questions, please put them into the chat box area and we will answer them live during our session. So right now, let's kick things off with Dr. Vesey. Now, you have an extensive experience in integrating emerging technologies across various industries. Can you share your perspective on the current state of AI and IoT, that's Internet of Things, in enterprise environments and how you see these technologies evolving over the next few years?
Sure. First, thank you very much for this invitation to you, Grant and Ronak. It's a pleasure to be here so we can talk about AI and IoT. I can say that AI and IoT integration is an advancement rapidly in business, right? Enabling real time data collection from connected devices. AI algorithm analyze this data for informed decision making, optimization operations, and personalized experience. These trends will grow, focusing on edge computing, enhanced security, and advanced AI models for managing complex data sets, and providing action insights across industry. That's my point of view.
That is interesting to get us started with this conversation. Now, I'm going to flip it over to Rono. I want to understand from your vantage point, working with large enterprises and small businesses in general, what are some of the key technological challenges that these types of organizations face when integrating artificial intelligence and Internet of Things?
Sure, Grant. And I would like to thank you, the audience, for attending the webinar today, and also Dr. Hedrich for joining us on the live show today. Coming back to the question, Grant, that you ask is, this small companies or the large enterprises, both have a kind of, I would say, unique technological logical challenges when they try to integrate the AI and IoT together. And we're going to talk about different challenges today as well. First of all, what we do see is the most biggest challenge that they face is the data management and the integration. So IoT devices, they generate large amount of data, And AI really requires very well structured and clean data. Now, these IoT devices, the data which is being generated may not be very clean data. So you really need to clean the data before even you feed to the AI models. So all these companies, they're actually kind of struggling with storing this large data, processing and analyzing this massive influx of data. Now, coming to the data silos, so the integrating the data from various IoT devices is also very complex. We see a lot of difficulties in consolidating and centralizing these data as well. Now, once we talk about security and privacy, IoT vulnerabilities is a very big thing because IoT devices have a very weak security protocols. Often, I would not say all the time, but often have a weak security protocols, and it's kind of a potential entry points for cyber attacks. So that's very important to secure these IoT devices with the strong security protocols. And let's talk about the data privacy. So AI needs access to vast data sets. We are getting all this data from IoT devices, but you need to make sure that you are complying with the privacy laws and regulations before even you start giving this data to the AI models. Also, this small and large companies, both have a unique challenges in terms of the infrastructure and scalability. So small companies, they always have a network constraints. They struggle with their network infrastructure. And on top of that, when you start doing the AI integration, that adds additional computing demands. So that really requires a lot of network scalability at the same time. And as Dr. Hedrich said about the edge computing, there are two aspects now we see, which is a cloud computing versus the edge computing. So deciding between which data or what is going to process on cloud and what is going to process on edge computing is very critical. So AI applications, they really require real time data processing. So we can't really send everything to the cloud and then it come back. It has to done on the edge computing, which is a nearby, so they can quickly process the data. So AI really needs edge computing. At the same time, IoT usually leans on the cloud based application, and that is fine. Also, in terms of the investment, the both AI and IoT require substantial large initial investment, whether it's the infrastructure, the software, and the skilled personal the team that you would need who is going to integrate both things. And we also see a shortage of the skilled people who really can implement and optimize both things together. Like we have a independent consultant who is more like IoT expert or AI expert, but we need to bring people who has like a lot of knowledge, who is combined knowledge together. Also, there is interoperability challenges are very big. So IoT devices, they come from various variety of different vendors. Now
Yeah.
all these vendors, they are using different protocols, so it's kind of a difficult for AI systems to seamlessly interact with them because everybody's using different protocols, and AI has to understand all those different things. So I would say it's kind of a standardization issues. So industry wide, different standards in both AI and IoT are being used, and that creates a whole bigger integration issues and the compatibility issues on those integration. Now let's talk about the AI accountability. Like a lot of companies have started relying on AI and their AI decisions. So what it means that AI model is going to make a decision for your company, and that's really big concerns. Like what if something goes wrong in the company for the decision that was made by AI model? Who is going to be accountable for that wrong decision? So you really need to have a very clear framework for the responsibility as well. You need to establish those kind of clear framework across the company. And also the regulatory compliance. So regulatory requirements are more on AI and IoT and data security side. They are big, that really slow down the adoption process. But we have to make sure that the regulatory compliance are met when you're putting IoT and AI pipelines together. So there are a number of different challenges that we discuss right now, where you try to combine AI and IoT together, but you need to talk about the cybersecurity issues, data governance issues, the cloud computing, which is a cloud, and the edge computing. So there are a number of different challenges that small and large enterprises are facing right now.
That is like, I'm
Yeah.
glad you like put it together. This is the current state. These are things you have to consider before you even, trying to move forward with a project. And all these things have to be on the table. You got to have the right people at the a table when you're wanting to do a project of that type of magnitude. And I want to ask Dr. Visi, because you've been in those rooms when you're discussing these things, and there are big hurdles in technology adoption and getting the buy-in from everybody, all the different stakeholders. So, could you elaborate just a little bit more on these strategies for engaging these key stakeholders during the planning and implementation phases? Ronald just kind of laid out some of that land. How do you get that discussion going?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that is happening right now. I have to say, because AI has transformed the IoT applications, right? And then in enhancement, decision making across domains. So integrating AI with IoT enables real-time data analysis, like Rona said, right? And intelligent choices essential for like a smart homes or electrical intelligent cars, right? But the collaboration between IoT and AI is evolving rapidly, driven by needs more efficient data processing and data making capabilities. For example, the key trends, like we talk about it, is it have to be edge computing.
Mhm.
Because in the edge computer, by processing data closer to the source, edge computer reduce latency, right? And bandwidth usage, enable faster decision making. Combined learning, this approach allows all models to be trained across multiple devices without sharing raw data, enhancing privacy and security. Because we talk about the operability, right? That each device is created by each vendors, but they need to be linked or connected. For example, on the industrial wall, right? If you have, for example, a sensor for a water pump, checking, if the water pump is working right, it doesn't have any leak, so, but your monitor is a different vendor with your iPad checking that pump. And
Mhm.
if they don't connect or sync, how can you get that results? This is very critical for everything we're doing right now. So the other thing is the real-time analytics, right? The ability to analyze data in real time is becoming exceptional for applications that requires immediate responses, such as healthcare monitoring and smart city management. So in this case, you have challenges and solutions, right? So while the integration between AI and IoT present numerous benefits, it's also, introduce challenges like privacy concerns, like we talk about it, latency issues. And sincerely, the edge computing solutions can address this processing data locally and better. And you're going to have great results.
This is, so I'm hearing a lot around the tech that it goes across a lot of different um, facets of a business, whether you're in operations, you're in the we call the information technology world or the operational technology world. The I would call that IT and then OT, right? So there's engineering aspects, there's information technologies, there's operational things that need to take into effect. There's all kinds of other stakeholders that, because you guys both have kind of laid out what all this technology can talk or touch and impact. So Rona, when you're talking about alignment between these technical and then non-technical stakeholders, especially when there are differing perspectives on the technology adoption, what kind of conversation does this come up with, and what are the risks associated with the innovation, especially in areas like we're discussing?
Yeah, so that's an amazing question. So when you work with AI and IoT, you really need to mitigate the risk, because at the same time, you're trying to maintain the agility in the company, or you're trying to foster the innovation in the company. But how do you still make sure? How do you mitigate the risk in the company? That's very, very important when you're trying to implement AI and IoT together. And there are a number of things I would like to mention on that. Is first foremost very important part is the process, like risk driven agile methodology. We our company is known as Agile Infoways, and we use those agile processes. It's called risk driven agile methodology. So I would strongly recommend to adopt the agile frameworks. So agile methodology, either like Scrum or Kanban, that allows continuous delivery, faster iteration, and rapid response to the changing requirements. And along with that, you need to have a frequent risk review. So there should be a risk assessment at the end of each sprint. There could be a sprint of 2 weeks or whatever the defined cycle of that sprint is, but there should be a strong risk assessment at the end of each sprint. Identify the potential blockers of that sprint, and then you try to adjust it accordingly. So you're kind of refining the whole process, so you get better and better every sprint. Also, let's talk about the security. So think of designing the whole solution. It's called security by design. So integrate the security protocols from the beginning of the project. After that, there should be a regular security audits, I would say threat modeling, and you have to make sure that you're securing the IoT endpoints. So when we talk about endpoints, like we need to have the end-to-end encryption implemented. So implement the robust encryption mechanism across all IoT devices and the AI data pipelines. So that's very, very important. Now, when you're doing the encryption, at the same time, you have to make sure that you are complying with the actual compliance. So monitor your compliance with the regulations like GDPR, HIPAA compliance in the healthcare. Then you have a PCI DSS compliance. So you have to manage those all compliances to mitigate the risk of the regulatory breaches. So that's very, very important. Now, another very important area I would like to highlight is the collaboration of the cross functional teams.
Mm.
So it's very important, because you could have an AI expert or you could have an IoT expert, but you have to make sure that you bring together the AI specialists, IoT engineers, data scientists, cybersecurity experts, and the business stakeholders. You can't really miss any elements here, because if you're missing the cybersecurity or business stakeholders or data scientists, you're really not going to have the end results right. So you have to make sure these all team work together and they really sync with each other. Now, also, I want to highlight more on the data governance side. You have to have very clear data governance policies. Define the clear policies in the data access, how you are actually storing the data, and how you are using the data. Because you can't really give any kind of data to the AI pipelines, because that is really a risky thing. So
Mm.
I want to highlight the data anonymization. So data anonymization is very crucial, because that's where you can protect the sensitive data. So when you do this anonymization, you are trying to uh, take out the identity of number of things from the data, and then you can feed that data to the AI pipelines. so you're not really revealing any identity of any of the people as well, so you can really comply with the privacy laws at the same time. And version control and audit trails are very important, because you have to have a robust version control mechanism and trails for all the codes or the data that you are feeding. If something goes wrong, you really need to know which data you use,
Mm.
and your AI model did not perform right, so then you need to get rid of that data. Or if you need to have the all code trails, if the code is not right, you have to refine that code, so you have to have trails for everything. I would strongly suggest to use CI/CD pipelines, which is
Mhm.
continuous integration and continuous deployment. So a lot of mid to large technology companies, software engineering companies like us, they use CI/CD pipelines, because that really pipelines help us to automate the whole testing, the code review process, and deployments. A lot of things are automated using this CI/CD, and you have to have a robust rollback mechanism. So even let's say, in case of there are failures, something goes wrong, you should be able to roll back to the previous version very quickly. And a lot of the companies, they are using something called A/B testing. A/B
Mhm.
testing is like, it's like you're deploying something, but only 50% of the audience will see something different, another 50% of audience will see something different. And then you try to gauge what is working the best for you, and then you deploy that whole thing to 100% audience. It's called A/B testing. It is very popular right now, and a lot of companies have started using A/B testing right now. and
Yes.
and we already, yeah, go ahead, Grant.
No, I was going to jump in here because these are important topics, and the more I
Yes.
listen to you talk, so wow, you've got your act together. You've been down this road. You understand how to manage these projects and all the different aspects that are so important. Risk is a big thing, especially when you're operating with technologies not in which everybody doesn't have the same level of experience. Now, I want to just move this over to Dr. VC real quick before, and I want you both to kind of chime in on this, because what I'm hearing over and over again is that there is a need for organizations to really balance the need for the innovation, but the risk management practice. You've got to pull these together. Not everybody knows how to play this game. What are your, well, how do you see this playing out, Dr. VC?
Sure. But I would like to add to Ronak presentation. I mean, very, very in details, and I'm glad he did that because each company is looking for the best people for their projects, right? So you have the agile framework or regular waterfall project, right? So, but I always say to fulfill stakeholders' expectations in integration AI and IoT into workflows, it is crucial to engage with, early on with them, clearly defining the process, the project scope and objective, providing consistent progress updates, and demonstrating AI value through pilot tests and use case presentation or are all key steps, right?
Yep.
So additionally, it is important to address concern about data privacy, security, ethical AI usage to build trust and gain stakeholder support.
Very
And
true.
on the risk management strategics, I have to say, involve proactive, identify potential threats to sensitive information, implementing robot security measurements to protect data through its life cycle, right? To add to relevant regulations. We talk about GDPR. I know the United States doesn't have the GDPR, but
Right.
I'm working on that for the AI. But I would like to see something like GDPR in Europe, in the United States, because it's that regulation and processes. We need that big time. It's like somebody asked me, "How do you regulate AI?" Well, the same thing you did with any technology. Remember, there is another aspect that we don't talk about. It is how well you can get researchers to work with your company to help you. That's it is to me is critical. If you have a researcher helping you to see how people are adopting or accepting technologies, I think to me you're gonna get better.
Mhm. I want to now, Ronak, you gotta jump in on
Yeah,
this because there's
yeah,
some
yeah,
best practices
definitely.
we gotta talk about.
I want to also emphasize more on the architecture side and the load balancing side as well. So, we discussed two aspects. Very important was the cloud computing and the edge computing, and that's a very big emphasis when we're talking about AI and IoT. And as we discussed, AI really needs to do a lot of data processing real time, so it can't really afford to send the data to the cloud, so it should be supported by the edge computing. I would always say that for the AI models, edge computing is very good, but anything which is a non-time sensitive, those tasks should be handled in the cloud. Do not try to play around and use edge computing for that. I would strongly say that, because you're talking about security levels are much better on the cloud computing at that point. So all non-time sensitive data should be done on the cloud infrastructure. Now, load balancing and auto scaling is also very important, because auto scaling infrastructure is very, very important, because when you are talking about IoT, we have so much influx of data, and that creates a crazy load on the system.
Yeah.
Now you have should be able to manage your infrastructure, so it should be auto scalable. So if your load is high through the IoT devices, or your AI data pipelines are processing a lot of data, your infrastructure should auto scale, but
Mhm.
not necessarily that you need a huge infrastructure and you need to pay that price forever. You only auto scale at the time when you need it. When your processing is lower, then you or the scale it back. So definitely there is a burst of data you have to manage in both IoT and AI, and this load balancing are really, really crucial to those task management. Now let's talk about the microservice architecture, and we implement this microservice architecture in number of projects. So implementing microservices are very important, because now you have a different services running, and you can independently scale each services based on the needs. So even if your load is crazily high, but you have this microservice architecture, so independent scaling really can help you for individual components and reducing the dependency, and this really increases the real agility of the whole solution that you're designing. And a lot of AI and IoT, what we have seen is, don't really go with the bigger plan, because we have seen number of failures in number of projects that people would come
Mhm.
in. So go with the proof of concept, because as I said, IoT devices are coming from different vendors, different protocols are being used, and so you need to go with the proof of concept. Go like small scale deployment, and try to test the model to see if it really works, and if it works, then you keep on deploying into a larger scale. So make sure that you have a pilot programs in place before you do the full scale deployment for sure. And in this kind of projects, you definitely need a lot of stakeholder engagement, because you have to engage your end users and your stakeholders from the early processes, and
Mhm.
it cannot be like there can't be gaps. It's a very, very often communication requirement from all of those stakeholders, because we need to gather the feedback of the designs that we are doing, and because they need to test it, they need to use it and give us a feedback that this thing is working or not working, or what kind of fine tunings are required. So multiple stage engagement is required. And we also involve the end users even in testing the beta versions of the products. Even though we are doing a lot of automated testing, we involve them to get their beta version products, and we try to get the real world feedback before launching into the production. Also, all these systems, you have to understand that this system is not a like 1 or 2 year roadway. This is like a long thing that you're designing, which is going to last for several years.
Mm.
So you have to ensure that the all these processes that you're designing, all the decisions that are being made by even stakeholders or system implementation, all should be thoroughly documented, because there would be a time that teams would change or something is gonna you're gonna make the changes in the system. You have to have very, very comprehensive documentation to safeguard that. And especially on the AI and IoT specific safeguard that I wanted to mention last before we go to the next question,
Yeah.
the model explainability. When you are doing this AI implementation, ensure that the models that are designed are interpretable models.
Mm.
You can't really design the model and people don't understand. It should be very easy to interpret, and you should be able to explain that model to the regular end users, that what this AI model is doing and how you are producing the end results. And the AI model monitoring is also very important, because you need to have a continuous monitoring required for the AI models, because you really need see you are giving the data, and models are just using that data to give you the end result. But you don't model doesn't know if there is a bias in data.
Mhm.
So if you have a bias present in the data, you need to have the full monitoring to identify the end results and see if there are drifts in the performance of the models or if there is a bias in the data, and you need to correct that. Otherwise, you are going into the absolutely wrong direction by using the AI modeling. So I would say these are the best different practices that we discuss, that you really need to have to manage the risk while implementing the AI and IoT together.
These
Yeah.
are all
And
important subjects, and I know that my whole audience and now they're chiming in. We're going to get right to Dr. Visi because I know he's ready to answer this, and we want him to chime in. I also want him to focus on some real world applications that possibly you've already done with HV Technology Group. That's going to help us in understanding where we others in this program can go with their particular projects.
yeah, sure. But I would like to add for the risk management, right? Because it's very important. We have to understand that in 1984, only 1,000 internet devices were connected. In 2030, it's gonna be is projected to be 125 billion devices connected.
Wow.
So imagine the life cycle that you need to have for this risk management strategies concerning data privacy and compliance. Crazy, right? So
Huge.
you have to be prepared. I mean, we are in this environment, in this industry, and we need to understand better the synergy between AI and IoT.
Mhm.
So some cases that I can talk about it. I'm not. I don't want to mention any company,
Yeah.
but I would like to say, for example, there's an application called NetSuite. It's a ERP
Yep.
application that a lot of companies use it instead of using the big Oracle. Well, Oracle is the owner of NetSuite. They bought it, and but Oracle have their own application that they can use, right? But NetSuite is very, I have to say, simple and menu driven tool that you can use. And I was trying to see with the company I was trying to do some consulting, right? To help them with AI to automate a lot of processes, right? And then suddenly, the vendor came back to me and said, "Hey, Rich, but you don't have to do that. We already embedded the AI into the system." And I said, "Oh, okay. Let me see what you have." Uh, they don't have a perfect tool right now, but it is a great tool to have. For example, like a chat GPT in the inventory section, right? For example, if you add a component in the inventory section in NetSuite, let's see that you have, let's talk about it again, water pump. and then you add the water pump, and then you add the specifications. You don't need to add the full specifications, right? You add it is 5 pounds, it is this high, this width, right? And it is color silver, whatever. And then you say, please, should ChatGPT to rephrase what I did, and it's gonna give you like a paragraph about that component. And then imagine if you do that for all the components you have, you're gonna have a better description of the item that you have in the inventory.
Mhm.
The other section is in the purchasing section.
Oh, Dr. VC has, are you back? I think we've lost his audio.
You can't hear him. Yes.
Just one moment, Dr. VC. We've lost your audio here for a moment. Hopefully we can get you back on. But while he was talking about some of the real world applications that he's been involved in, I know Ronak, you've seen your fair share of some of these applications. And the whole point is people want to drive business results. I want to have a better business outcome, whether it's efficiency, something that's measurable, that's profitable. I'm sure as a CEO of a company, you understand that. Now, give us some examples of how you've been able to accomplish these things.
Sure. In fact, we are highly involved with both AI and IoT models together, and with several industries as well. So we let's talk about the one of the large solution that we are designing for large healthcare company, and it's a full blown remote patient monitoring system that we are designing. Now, this remote patient monitoring systems, we have different IoT devices like blood pressure monitors, glucose monitors. We monitor different parameters of the patient, and then all these readings are being sent to the healthcare monitoring company every few seconds. Okay, but the biggest problem that this healthcare monitoring company were facing is like if they have to monitor thousands and thousands of patients, they can't manage it, because how many people they're going to put uh, on the computers, and they're going to monitor all data all day long. So that's where the whole AI modeling came in. So all these AI models that we have designed, they are very unique for the patients. These AI models understands these thousands of patients and their health data. They know their past health data, what kind of risk that they're prone to, and every patient is treated with the unique way using AI. So AI exactly know that, okay, Ronak has a high blood pressure or high glucose, so what is the upper and lower limit for this patient? And based on that, if the IoT devices are throwing the data which goes beyond the limit, AI triggers the alert to the healthcare provider saying that, hey, this patient is data is not normal anymore. And these healthcare providers basically goes and they start treating the patient through the care facilities that they have. Now, in the same project, there was another bigger challenge from the insurance companies. Like insurance companies were saying that, hey, healthcare providers, you are sending us this whole bigger bills, but you're not really spending that much time on the patient. And then we do the full AI billing solution implementation. So this AI billing is really tracking the time from the point where it really sends the alert to the healthcare provider that this patient is abnormal. The healthcare provider kicks in, they really start working on the patient, then the treatment that they give, and the actual patient, things go back to the normal. We do a lot of time management and calculation, and that is being absolutely logged into the system, and that's being used for the insurance billing. So this is like real world great examples of IoT and AI working together. We implemented these solutions in more than about 200 locations in the United States right now, and it is a fantastic, I would say, blessing for the remote patient monitoring, because every patient is really getting a detailed attention based on their specific health data, because of the AI and IoT integration. I do have definitely a couple of other case studies that I want to talk about, but I'm not sure if Dr. VC's audio is back or not, and if we wanted to hear him back.
I think, can you go ahead and speak, Dr. VC? Oh, for some reason, we're still not having his
Okay.
audio that's there. But before you continue, there is a question that came up from the audience, and the audience wants to know, and this is their exact wording: how do you foresee the integration of AI and IoT affecting data privacy and compliance in industries like healthcare or finance? And what measures should companies take to ensure that both innovation and security are prioritized?
Yeah, so definitely, I would like to quickly answer this question, and I think we also did discuss a little bit about that on the data governance policies. So every industry, whether it is a healthcare or finance, they have a clear guidelines how the data should be stored, how it should be accessed, and how it is being utilized. Because you could have millions and millions of data, but before even you use that data and give it to the real world AI models, you really need to take a lot of sensitive data out of it. Like anonymization, that was a very big thing which is going on right now, is like really need to. So let's say in healthcare or finance worlds, you need to remove the patient identity.
Mm,
Yes, I understand that every ethical group, or like every race, like every different groups have different disease that are going on, but there are a number of things that needs to be anonymized from the data before the data is being fed to the AI models. And it's very important to understand that this data that is you are being used, remember I talked about the biases, because there could be a bias in the data itself. So you really need to clean that data and make sure there is no bias present in the data before you feed into the AI models. Otherwise, this could be absolute into the wrong direction, and the completely wrong results would come in if the data
mm,
is not governed properly. So I would say that that's very important. Now, another thing is, in terms of the data, there are compliance procedures that has to go through. So for example, in the healthcare industry that we are working on, any systems that we design, once we design it, we go through the whole testing procedure and the compliance procedure. So in the healthcare world, it's a HIPAA compliance, right? So we have to go through those compliance tests. We have to make sure that we meet those guidelines and requirements, and then this is being deployed live into the production. So
mm.
otherwise it is, so you definitely need to have the data governance guidelines implemented, as well as the privacy and regulatory laws abided into your development plan itself.
Very, very good information. Thank you for answering that question for the audience. I don't know, Dr. VC, I know you went on and off. Do we have audio with you now? No, we're still not there. And I know you had some real world examples you wanted to get out. Now, Ronald, you did state that there's a couple other things. This is important because
Yes.
people want to see how it really operates in the wild, right?
Yes. So definitely, there's another classic example that we designed for a company in Bay Area in California. This company was actually trying to work on the patient's medication plan. So like these patients, the elderly patients have now real world issues. That they have a number of different medication that they need to take throughout the day, and there are high chances that a lot of bigger cost to the insurance company is this patient really forget their medications to take it on time, and that really badly affects them with the higher insurance bills, because patient don't take the medication and then they are hospitalized again, and then insurance companies are really getting larger bills because of that. So the design that we did for this company was the pill bottles that we get from the pharmacy. We get that yellow bottles and the white
Yeah,
cap. This
yeah.
white cap is a smart cap. It's an IoT enabled cap that we design. and then we basically put that cap on top of the bottle, and now we track the dosage of the patient depending on how many times they're opening. So let's say in the morning they're supposed to take a medication. As soon as they open, the system understands that they have taken the medication. Also, we take it by the weight of the bottle as well, to make sure that
Ah.
there's the real time medications are taken or not. And apart from that, we have an Uber care facilities also managed. So let's say if the patient
Can I
skips.
can I ask you a question? That's important. I understand this bottle a little bit more. And then that bottle, you're saying that you can monitor, you can tell if somebody like takes off the cap, the white cap, like normal people do, and you
Yep.
can sense that because it's a Wi-Fi enabled IoT. How are you
Exactly.
doing it with the weight? You mentioned you can tell by the weight of that bottle. How are you measuring that?
Yeah, so we are actually taking some measurements of the bottle through the IoT cap itself. The IoT cap is a smart cap. It senses the actual load that comes in there, and there are special parameters that is being used to calculate the weight out of that as well. And the smart part of that, there is AI integration in this IoT algorithms. So the way we did is, we do a lot of AI diagnostics for the medication that they are taking.
Mhm.
So all these patients, so for example, first scenario is if they miss one or two dosage, if they don't open the caps or the weight of the bottle is not changing, something is wrong. The healthcare provider are getting alert, and then they have a care facility who would contact the patient. If they don't answer, we contact their near ones. If they don't answer, then there is a care facility who would go and meet the patient to see what's going on. But that's one part. The second part is the AI diagnosis for the medication that this patient is taking. So let's say patient is a diabetic patient, and there is a change in the medication. Now this new medication they have started, so in the system we have designed that there are some of the things that patient can really select the checkbox at how they are doing, what are the changes that they see. We try to make the system very simple for them, so they don't really have to type too much, because the patient could be very old, so they can just tap in different things in the app that we have given. And based on the that they're putting, we have AI algorithms which checks to see how this patient is entering and how his health is going better or it's deteriorating. Based on that, this AI diagnostic will send the whole dashboard report to the healthcare provider that this patient is okay with the newer medicine that has been introduced, or it is not suitable and you guys need to contact the patient. So it's a very very smarter AI diagnostics tools that are being used even when there is a change in the medication for any patient. So it's kind of a combination of a smart pill bottle, where you manage
Yeah.
everything in terms of dosage, but now you're using AI diagnostic tools to see how the patient is doing over the period of time when there is a change in the medication, change in the dosage, or whatever it may be. And also we did a lot of OCR integration as well, because
Mm.
sometimes how it has happened in last 10 years or 20 years, patients has become smarter than doctors because they read a lot of things on Google
Yeah.
and they have so many more questions. So we have done a lot of OCR integration on the top of the bottle, so they can scan the QR, the code actually, and they find a lot of ingredients that are being used in that medication. But for every ingredient, what are the how it is made and what are the things that are being used to make them more comfortable when they take the medication. So there are a number of things that are being used by AI, IoT, and diagnostics tools with the OCR integration in this company right now.
Man, I like that. I can see that as I get into my older years and what I'm going to be able to know. And the doctor knows if I'm on good behavior or bad behavior and that kind of thing. But to be able to even scan and know what I'm putting into my body and know where it came from and its history and the diagnosis. You brought up something earlier around the data bias, right? So if all that data is only coming from North America or is only coming from European nations, and you're in Southeast Asia, you're in Africa, you're in
Yep.
South America, and none of that data was ever used in the development of this particular medication. You might want to know that when it comes to precision medicine and how it may or may not affect you. I'm not sure, Dr. VC, are you still with us, or no? He's still silent. He's there, but he's a silent. I'm not sure exactly what happened from an audio perspective, but the audience can hear us. And the audience has posed a different question, which I think is a very good question as we get into, because these are very interesting topics. They're real top of mind and what people are thinking about right now. But they're asking this question: what are the key skills IT leaders need to develop in order to effectively manage these risks and rewards associated with deploying AI and IoT at scale? You like to take that
Yeah,
one on?
yeah, definitely, definitely. So remember, I told you that this AI and IoT both have a vast differences. So I would say IoT is being designed by number of vendors in the world, and everybody is still using different protocols. There are standardization issues, and AI pipelines, they are very sophisticated, very smart as compared to the IoT models, and now we are trying to both work together. So there's definitely whole integration problems that we see in the world right now, and I would strongly suggest that the leaders, who are actually planning to take this project on, they need to do two to three things together. One is the leaders. I would suggest that they have to have this some kind of process in place. I always suggest agile methodology or the Kanban processes, because you can't really do the full deployment and then you try to test the model that it's going to work or not. It's not going to work. Hey, you go in the sprint of cycle of 2 weeks. So the leaders, like I would say PMP certified, like project management PMP certified leaders would be a good fit for this kind of projects, because they already know the processes in every sprint. And then at the end of every sprint, you have to have a risk assessment done, because your risk assessment would tell you that in this sprint, what was your real failure, and you need to mitigate that. You need to take that out and make sure that your next sprint does not have that failure. So leaders really need to be very careful and work very closely with the actual end result of that sprint.
Mhm.
So that's very important in the risk management, and identify the potential blockers that are actually really not getting into the next point. And then the second part is the security, right? You have to make sure that you have a end-to-end encryption security protocols designed in the system, because you could have a very big system, but if the securities are not designed at the time of the actual foundational level, the whole system could go absolutely into the wrong direction, right? So that's very, very important part. So I would suggest that the processes, the frameworks like agile, PMP certified people leaders, end-to-end security aspect, and end-to-end encryption, and the compliance monitoring. Make sure you
Mhm.
have the compliance. If your technical team does not have a compliance monitoring knowledge, you need to bring those people on the role who really understand the HIPAA, or in the Europe like GDPR, whatever the compliances are. They have to understand that. And when you design and architect the whole solution, you have to build in those compliances as a part of the process. I think Dr.
I
VC
think
would
Dr.
like.
Vici, can you speak? I was hearing
Yeah, so I think
some
it's.
audio coming through, but I'm not sure now. He seems to be stuck. It's
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I definitely, you can go ahead, Grant. But before we close out, I can give one more very smart case study for another industry, if you would like.
Yes, please share that.
Yeah. So we are working with very large shipping company in the different part of the world, in Dubai and Singapore, and this large company, they have about 800 to 900 vessels, very huge vessels in the ocean, which is carrying the fuels and chemicals around the world. And we are their very strong partner for at least more than 3 years now, and we are designing these large solutions with the IoT integration on the ship itself.
Mhm.
The most important part was, this there is a top level management who always wanted to know where the ship is in the ocean, what's going on in the ocean, how much carbon emission is there. They really need all this data to see the performance of every vessel that is going from point A to point B. So these IoT sensors that we have built and implemented, they first of all check the carbon emission of the ship. Now they also understands that how much waves are in the ocean and how the vessel is moving, depending on the wind speed and the waves and everything. And based on that, it really understands the fuel consumption. From point A to point B, fuel consumption is always different based on the wind and waves of the ocean. So it really understands. And then this IoT sensors exactly understands the load on the ship, because it's not always necessary that your ship is fully loaded. It could be
Yeah.
only 70% usage of that ship from going from point A to point B. So we do take a lot of data points from all these IoT sensors, and then we feed into our AI model, and then AI model really does a lot of analysis based on the history of the data. Okay, we use a lot of large data of the history, and then we compare that with the actual load, the fuel consumption, carbon emission, waves, wind directions, and like that. And we design a very smart Power BI dashboard, business intelligence
Mhm.
dashboard, which shows to the top management that, okay, now we have 900 vessels in the ocean. This 300 vessels is going to make the profit today, and 600 is probably going to break even or going to be lost today. So we designed that kind of very smart data points, which really gives top level management that, okay, in the last quarter, which point of origins are not making money, on which point of origins are making money. So they try to change their business model and try to go into that geography to get more business where they are getting actually real benefit
That's
or
very good
profits on the ocean.
efficiency. That's excellent efficiency. I mean, everybody would want to do that because it costs so much money to operate those vessels. I'm sure that that kind of deployment made 100, percent, even if it cost you, six, seven figures to deploy. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket, depending on what you're doing and operating, a shipping business of that type of magnitude. Dr. Visa, I hear some things happening, but can you give us some words?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so well, I guess we are getting close to the end. So I'm gonna say that the combination of AI and IoT is leading to the creation of advanced, efficient systems that adapt to changing environments and user needs. As technology, the potential of AI to improve decision making will grow, enhancing quality of life and boosting operation efficiency across various sectors.
Thank you. Thank you. We were hoping that we get more input, but we will definitely look at these notes because I tell you one thing, I've learned a great deal. I've known about IoT for a number of years, and I know its purpose, but the AI component and what you talked about even earlier, explainable AI. I don't think a lot of our audience, they're used to, the chat GPT, that type of thing. That's generative AI. There are different AI models that are coming on board and are going to be more in use. Explainable AI is one of those. Computer vision is another thing. When I think about IoT and computer vision and what that enables it to do is pretty phenomenal. So before I leave, I want Rona just kind of give us what are the models you're seeing in the AI world. We got about 1 minute. When I'm talking about certain things, what are you excited about?
Yes, yes, yes. So honestly, AI is actually not a new thing. It's been in the industry for, I would say, more than 20 to 25 years. It's just a matter of people understanding, and now they see a real world application of using the AI. And on top of that, we have this explainable AI, which really clears the for the end users to understand that how am I really getting the data or the feedback or the results of what is being used. And in terms of there are generative AI is coming up, the agentic AI, which is also coming up into the market right now, which is going to be a bigger thing in next couple of years as well. But generative AI is basically a real strong AI, I would say, which is being used widely based on the data that you give. It real makes the decision on the data that you're feeding on the real time. So generative AI is the most popular, and all of the companies are using that now. But now a lot of companies are starting talking about the agentic AI, because that's going to be something where you're going to create different agents, and it's going to start learning from your AI processes, and it's going to create the models smarter than the actual the AI itself. So the agentic AI is going to be another larger thing that we will see in few
Well,
years
I
of
tell you
time.
what, this has been wonderful. We got 2 seconds. We're going to get out of here, but thanks you for being on the show. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Very much.